Colorado is the center of national debates from the presidential race to guns to marijuana. 2008, Denver Mayor John Hickenlooper welcomed fellow Democrats to the convention that made history, nominating Barack Obama for president. Less than 3 years later, Hickenlooper became Colorado's governor. He led his state through the aftermath of the Aurora theater rampage and the legalization of recreational pot. Hickenlooper is also a successful brew-pub entrepreneur. His new memoir is called The Opposite of Woe, My Life in Beer and Politics, and we welcome Governor Hickenlooper to the table. Well, hello.
Great to be here.
Are you glad you're here?
Yes, I am, although, who knows?
You'll let us know later.
Exactly.
Yes, Governor, let's start with your experimentation with pot and naked selfies. Let's start with that. You do recall that incident in the book.
It's a long book.
Yeah. Yes, you shared that story. Why? Because you wanted us to know what about you? Well, first tell them what happened.
Well, I wanted the book to be authentic. I wanted to actually be grounded.
Yes.
And so I put in, exactly, honest about, so I put in stuff that most people would normally edit out. Youthful indiscretions.
Yes.
When I was in college, I took a photo class and, I set up a tripod, was in a bathtub and took a picture of myself.
Naked.
Naked. Well, I was in the bathtub.
Where are those pictures now?
Yeah, exactly. Was this before Instagram?
Lost to the archives of history, I'm sure. But anyway, we tried to put everything into the book.
But you said you've described it as a call to action for nerd and geeks. I hear nerd and geeks are having a good resurgence this time, this time of the day.
Well, part of the idea behind the book was that, I sort of felt like I'd had a story to tell, this kind of strange, unpredictable life, and that, when I was growing up in the book, I had thick glasses and acne, no confidence. My dad died when I was a kid, and through the evolution of life, if nerds and geeks, that's who I was.
Yeah.
If you work hard enough and you've got the right attitude and you don't quit, then in the end you can play a role, and that's part of what I think America needs now. It's more people coming in to be mayors and city council members, and everyone's so kind of frustrated by all forms of government. But this is America. Government is us.
Yes.
Indeed. This is also America. This is politics. Trump flies, Hill cries in fourth straight press survey. Is that the way it is, you think, right now, that they're pretty much even?
Oh, I don't think so. It's hard to predict these polls this far out. It's great. It's exciting. It's like it's reading drama. But I think in the end, it's funny, in the book we talk a lot.
That's a snapshot today. Is this where it is today?
I agree. Yeah, probably. In terms of how people think. I talk in the book about Agnes Nixon, who was one of my mother's closest friends, wrote these amazing soap operas, As the World Turns, Guiding Light. Right. They'd have a wedding, and they fill up an office with all the wedding gifts. People take it as reality. And I think, that what Donald Trump has been presenting, like the apprenticeship. People think that the apprenticeship is real life. And really, that's not a vision for America. It's not a plan of what we should be doing or how we should be approaching our problems.
It's also very nasty, the campaign. And you're right, you really don't like negative campaighning.
Well, and I also grew up as a skinny kid in elementary school and got bullied. Yeah. And when someone's a kind of a braggart and a bully, it makes me on edge just because I live that. And I don't think that's the model we want for our kids, in this country. Obviously, just my opinion, but I hold it pretty strongly.
One of the debates that's going on right now is over guns. Donald Trump has changed his positions, but just received the endorsement of the National Rifle Association. One of the things he's talked about is that we should end gun-free zones in schools. You've actually done a lot in terms of guns in Colorado. Explain what you talk about in the book.
Well, and in so many ways we went back and kept trying to get the facts and listen. If you're trying to persuade people towards something, telling them what you think oftentimes makes things worse. And by listening and asking questions and filling it out. So things like universal background checks, we went back and got the facts. In 2012, we got to half the gun purchases. 38 people convicted of homicide tried to buy a gun, and we stopped them. 133 people convicted of sexual assault tried to buy a gun. We stopped them. 1,300 people convicted of felony assault. Universal background checks work, right? You keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. That shouldn't be partisan. That should be something we can all agree to. But it became this huge battle, and really, really a challenge.
What's the difficulty in explaining, on the one hand, that certain kinds of guns you don't want people to be able to get, you want certain kinds of procedures, and at the same time convincing people you do not want to do away with the Second Amendment and you do not want to do away with guns?
Right. Well, I think if you go back and look over the mass shootings we've had over the last 25 years, let's say, and there's about 35, I think, and of those, 3/4 had magazines with more than 15 rounds. I mean, that becomes, we couldn't find a single example of someone ever needing more than 15 rounds to defend their home, ever, in history.
Right.
So it's a benefit on the shooting range. It's nicer to have a large capacity magazine, but long term, that's probably, it's like when we banned sawed-off shotguns in the 1930s. Sometimes we modify our regulations, right, our well-regulated militias, what the Second Amendment says. Sometimes we modify that for the overall public good of the country.
But there's a lot of gun owners and Second Amendment supporters in Colorado. How did they respond to these gun control measures that you signed into law?
I think many of them were very unhappy, especially with the magazine limit. I think universal background checks is more easily, people can accept that more easily.
So you want to be VP? Because Malcolm Gladwell says this: read this book, pause and reflect on how thoughtful and intelligent and charming John Hickenlooper is, then hope to God he runs for president one day, and your name is being floated as a VP candidate.
Well,
What say you, Mr. Hickenlooper?
I'm not trying to be VP. I have the greatest job in the world. And I think
Everybody says that.
I think that list is a very long list, and I think I'm down towards the bottom. So I don't, that's not a point of contention or a point of real discussion. I look at, Malcolm Gladwell's a brilliant writer and very generous spirit to write such a nice thing.
And he deeply appreciates the dinner you took him to. In a word, in a sentence, what ought this campaign be about? Character, a particular issue, or what?
I think it should be about what your experience is, right? What your capability to be president on day one really is, and have you that experience to solve we're in one of the most challenging times in our history. It's back to the Depression was the last time we had this many increases in productivity when the electrified factories. That makes it hard to keep people to work, to keep generating new jobs and new training.
I always hate to cut a governor off, but we've got to go. And you've just agreed to sit and do a Facebook chat after we go off the air. Do you mind if I mention your book one more time?
No, of course you can.
The name of the book, it's called The Opposite of Woe. It goes on sale tomorrow. Thank you so much. You're going to stick around. We'll do a Facebook chat as soon as we get off the air. Thank you so much.
Thanks.